Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. And I wanted to come on here for a special live tonight. You know, I usually do at least one or two lives a week, and it's usually just me sitting here just spilling out my guts. But today I wanted to speak about something that's super important. I spoke to this amazing woman earlier today, and when she told me what she was doing, I said, can you please come on this evening? And she was flexible enough to do it. So here we are. And this is Jackie Simmons, and she is the energetic healer and the director of Teen Suicide Prevention Society. So people usually seek Jackie out when they get the been there, done that term that has become a repeating loop, and they're looking for something more significant in their lives and greater impact in the world. So people come to TSPS when they're tired of feeling worried and helpless and want to be a part of a mission to make teen suicide a thing of the past. I just cannot wait for that mission to be completed. So over 40,000 people have been touched by the talk that saves lives so far. That's amazing. I mean, you're doing just such amazing work, Jackie. Thank you for being here with me today. I think I've said this to you when we were talking privately before the show, that I myself, tried to commit suicide when I was 13 years old. And, it is so this was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to have you on here this evening to discuss this. And so why don't we start off just letting my audience know a little bit about who you are.
I'm the mother of a teen suicide
Mm,
attempt survivor. That is the only qualification that I thought I had when it came to speaking up about the
mm,
fact that silence is deadly. When it comes to suicide, especially among teenagers, if you're reading the news and you're getting the lists from the Center for Disease Control that says these are the signs to watch for, you're in trouble.
mm,
And there are two
mm.
reasons. The first one is the easier one to talk about, which is the fact that we live in a day and an age where the first sign that someone's in trouble is often an attempt
Oh,
and they
wow.
don't survive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's the easy one. Here's the hard one. That list from the Center for Disease Control doesn't help a parent because our brains, and this is my field of study, I've been a stress management consultant for over 30 years. Our brains are elegantly designed to screen out anything that doesn't match up, doesn't closely
Right,
align with what we believe.
right, right.
And parents are hardwired to believe that their kids are okay. My kid's just fine.
Mm,
So subtle signs may be there, the elephant in the room, other people can spot them, but as a parent, you're hardwired not to see them. So
so
parents
true.
have a double whammy. We're dealing with a 300% rise in suicide ideology among teenagers, according to Frank King. He's a mental health and suicide prevention speaker, and his article just hit the newspapers today. A 300% increase, and it was bad
Wow.
before.
Yeah. Well, a 300% increase is it, since when? Since what's the
Since
date?
COVID, since COVID,
Wow. Okay, so it's just this last year and a half, a
just this last year and a half.
300% increase. I know that I was talking to someone I met who was a mortician, and he was telling me that he's getting a lot of suicide bodies, a lot of suicide bodies, and I was just like, that is so sad, and he was very saddened even saying it, but this is what's happening, right? With all of the lockdowns and the closing up and all of that, people had to sit with themselves, and that's hard sometimes.
It's not only hard sometimes to sit with ourselves, Nina, there's another piece to the puzzle. And I was lucky. I interviewed the director of the Suicide Institute in New York City on the Suicide Prevention Show. And what he shared with me, because he works with clinicians, helping them handle the conversations about suicide with their patients and their clients. So that's what he does, is to help buoy them up. And
Hmm.
what he shared was that the very people who are here to help us survive this tsunami of suicide are drowning right
Mm,
along with us.
Wow.
Compassion fatigue for everyone from your mortician through the nursing, through doctors, and especially through mental health providers is taking its toll.
Yeah.
It's always been there, just like suicide has always been there. But what we're seeing now is this compression that we've got a system that really wasn't equipped to handle.
Right, right. I mean, I don't think it was too equipped to handle it before, right? I mean, we were having issues before. So, I mean, with the bullying, because we're talking about teens, but with the bullying and all of that, it was already a huge problem, especially with social media, right? Because it's very difficult for parents to control how their kids are getting bullied on social media. And that was already causing like a huge problem. But now this
Okay.
isolation, right?
Well, you're going to hit my hot button on that first one. If anyone's ever watched the old movie, The Bells of St. Mary's, it was a
Mm,
Bing Crosby movie. And in it, the father and the nun who ran the school had to help the kids deal with bullying, how to intervene, when to intervene, how to help the kids have the resilience to handle it.
right.
We've stopped teaching our kids to be emotionally resilient.
Yep. Yep.
And there are some plans, some programs in our country that I think have gone horribly wrong. And one of them is the Safe Space program on colleges.
Mhm.
It was designed to provide a place where gender diverse students could be safe from harassment. What it's become is a place where students can retreat rather than deal with it. And the message
Good
our
point.
kids are getting is you can't deal with life without our help.
Mm,
We are teaching helplessness. We didn't intend for that with the Safe Space program, but we are actually proliferating learned helplessness among
wow.
an age group that's already fragile. Because this is a day and a time that we're expecting them to make lifelong decisions without all of their brain. Their
Right.
prefrontal cortex is not fully functioning yet.
Right, right, right. Right.
So they've got a massive amount of pressure, and that was before COVID. And so now we're dealing with the biggest challenge of all, which is a lack of optimism.
Wow. Wow.
And it is the lack of optimism, it is the inability to believe that something better is coming. And when you're dealing with a teen brain, they are in the now because they don't have a prefrontal cortex, they don't have the perspective of time.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And not having and being in the now is also important. I think it's also important for us as the adults or the people responsible or the teachers or stuff like that to also be in the now with them, right? Instead of saying, "Oh, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay." Because they're not looking, like you said, they're not even looking forward. They're still in where they are right now. So you're going to be okay is just not good enough. In my case, when I was 13 and I drank a whole bottle of pills and tried to kill myself, nobody even cared. Like I never even gotten spoken to after that. It was just deal with it, you know?
You know, three things you never want to say to someone who you think is at risk, or actually because you're not going to think they're at risk. Three things you don't want to say to someone who says they're having a rough time.
Mm.
Get over it. You'll be okay. Just deal with it.
Mhm.
Those are three things you don't want to say. The one thing you do want to say, don't do it.
Mm.
Three words, the three
Okay.
most powerful words in the suicide intervention realm. And I want to be really clear, this is not the realm that we play in at the Suicide Prevention Society. The Teen Suicide Prevention Society and the Suicide Prevention Society,
Mhm.
we are proactive. We are upstream. We are not waiting for signs or looking for who's at risk. We believe that we're all at risk. And here's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Center for Disease Control has identified risk factors, and we actually have a risk factor assessment because people asked us to create one. The one thing that everyone needs to know is that the highest risk group for a suicide attempt is someone who has attempted before.
Wow.
Period.
Yeah.
It's just
Wow.
that simple. That's the highest risk group. The second highest risk group is a little less known. if you know someone who's tried or died. Now, here's the deal, courtesy of media, we all know someone. We all know a
Right.
celebrity chef, a talented singer, and a gifted comedian who have
Mhm.
taken their
Mhm.
own lives.
Mhm.
So we're all at risk. I call it the suicide war, war with two A's. We're all at risk.
Right.
Once you
Wow.
believe that, once you absorb that, then you want to help and make sure that everybody around you is suicide proof, that they have
Right.
a buffer between them and an edge that they may not even know they're near.
Right. I mean, but what you're saying is so important too, right? So it does give us awareness of what's happening around us and happening to others, that we should be more aware of what's happening. How do we then take care of ourselves as well, right? So how
Here's
how does that teen or that parent that has to come to the realization that this is real and it's happening. My son tried to he wrote letters to commit suicide, and teacher caught him, and then we went and got therapy and did all of that stuff because I was scared, because being that I also had tried, I knew that it was a very big possibility that he would actually go through with it, but it's a very scary place. Let me tell you, as a parent, you don't sleep, you don't want to leave them alone for a second. If they don't answer the phone or something immediately, you're panicked. It's a horrible, horrible feeling, not just for the person going through it, but the people who love them. It's a very difficult thing.
our mission is to prevent anyone from getting there.
Right, right.
We want to be on the pure prevention, proactive side. And the easiest thing in the world is to use our guide that stops suicide to have the talk that stops suicidal thoughts from getting stuck in your head.
Mhm.
We realized that suicide prevention programs in the United States are all focused at risk populations. That's sort of like the entry requirement to get into the program.
Hmm.
In my mind, that's intervention. That's
Right.
not preventing them from struggling with suicidal thinking. So we stopped asking, how do we stop suicide? And started asking, how do we stop suicidal thinking from getting stuck inside your head?
Right.
The difference was very telling. First, it recognizes a little known fact that Freud highlighted. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, said suicidal thoughts are normal.
So
They're
glad you said
normal.
that.
There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with them.
Mhm.
The challenge is when they get stuck, when they form what we call the negative echo chamber. And they get stuck when you're afraid of them. And they can get stuck for biochemical reasons. I am not discounting the biology of the brain where we can get fixated on a thought. Being fixated on a thought is actually one of the symptoms of depression, when all
Right.
you have is one thought running over and over again. So, our goal is to prevent that from happening. We use a variety of tools, but our most powerful tool is the talk. It's a simple process. And what we teach is first the rules of the game. You have to promise you will never sneak up on somebody and blindside them with the talk. You plan it ahead by
Right.
inviting them.
Right.
So the invitation, Nina, is like this. Hey, Nina, I'm part of the mission to make teen suicide a thing of the past. I have a guide I need to practice. Do you have 10 minutes tomorrow that I could practice with you?
Right. Right.
Almost everybody says yes. Now they know you're going to be talking about suicide and they don't take it personally because it's not that you think they're at risk.
Right.
And you've already dialed down their risk because you've highlighted a part of their brain lit up that lights up when we think that somebody asks us for help.
Right. Right.
So it's already started the process. Nina, would you be open? Because we didn't talk about this, but would you be open to having the talk with me right now so that your audience can see how it works?
Heck yeah. Let's do it.
Cool. All right. I'm going to pretend that you said yes yesterday. You ready?
Yes.
Cool. Nina, thank you for helping me practice the talk. I only have 4 questions. Are you ready?
Sure. Let's do it.
Question 1. Have you heard about the rise in teen suicides?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. Question 2. Do you have a story? Do you have a friend who's tried or died?
I do.
Thank you. Nina, question 3. Have you ever thought of leaving that way?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
Thank you. Question 4. Hey, Nina, why stay? What are your reasons for staying?
Yeah. I know that this too shall pass. I know that every circumstance that I was in, that too shall pass. That's a very good question, that last question, because it makes you stop and be grateful for what you do have in your life and the things and the reasons why you stayed. It's a good question.
I'm glad you like it. We actually dig deep here. We ask,
Yeah.
what else? And tell
Yeah.
me more. Oh, and Nina, we also do it this way. Hey, Nina, what's so good about your life that you want more of it?
My family. It's so good. I love my family. I adore my family. It's so good. And I love that I'm still here to impact lives, right? Because, being someone, and I'm just talking, of course, from an adult perspective, right? But
Mhm.
being someone who's been through a lot in my life and did try to commit suicide and had thought about suicide many times, right? I I realized that we have um so much to be grateful for, and I'm glad I didn't succeed. I'm glad I didn't succeed, you know? So that's why when you and I were speaking earlier and you brought up that this is really your heart's mission and what you love to do and what you want to do to impact the world, I had to have you on as soon as possible. Because I feel like you never know what conversation will reach somebody's ears. You really don't, Jackie. You know what I'm saying? It could be one person, and that's
Right.
the one person you needed to reach.
So you asked me about how this works, and anyone watching this or listening to it heard the change in your voice.
Mhm.
When you touched into your true reasons for staying, and like I said, this is where we teach talkers, we call them talkers, we teach talkers how to dig here.
Mhm.
It's a 90-minute class, and it's part of a program called the Talks That Save Lives, which is a 4-part program. And in it, first and foremost, it's learn the guide, get comfortable with the guide, practice with your fellow students, and then start suicide proofing your friends and your family.
Right.
Because what we know is that the person asking the questions gets just as much benefit as the
Yeah, yeah.
person answering the questions.
For sure. Do
Anybody
you
listening to this
Mhm.
just now, just so you'll know, Nina, you just started suicide proofing your tribe. You
Right.
snuck up on them.
That's that's right. I love you too, Dominique. Yeah, I think that the conversations need to be had more. I don't know why we've made it such a stigma, right? But even when like I was talking to a young lady and she was saying that she remembers just wanting to ram her car into a tree. And oh my gosh, Jackie, I had that thought so many times years ago. I had that thought so many times, like, okay, if I end it now, everybody would just be way better off, that kind of thought, right? But I
That's
wouldn't do
the
it.
thought.
Yeah.
That's the thought that created the biggest argument between myself and my daughter, Stephanie. And
Mm,
for anyone who hasn't heard Stephanie's story, it's part of my TEDx talk. Stephanie was telling me that her challenge was that she really believed the world would be better off without her, that the family would be better off without her.
mm,
It hurt her to stay because she had decided that she was a burden. And it makes it sound like she had conscious choice, but the reality is we don't. These types of decisions are based on events and beliefs that we adopted at a time we
yeah.
don't even remember.
Right. Right.
And working through those unconscious beliefs is what I was doing with my private clients. It had not ever crossed my mind that I would work in this arena.
Right.
Yeah. This is
Right.
this was like, no, I can't talk about this for all the reasons that people don't talk about it. Would I have any credibility in the workplace? Would I have any credibility in the healing space, especially as an energetic healer and a stress management consultant, if people knew that my daughter had attempted to take her own life
Mm-hmm.
multiple times. So I had the professional paranoia, if you will. And that's what it felt like. I was paranoid that people would find out and my business would go down
That's
the
real.
tube.
Yep.
You know what the problem is with that? It actually damaged my business more to keep the secret than
Mm.
it did to reveal it. And here's why. You heard the phrase, we do business with people we know, like, and trust.
Yeah, yeah.
When someone has a secret, our early warning system alerts us to inauthenticity, that they are being less than authentic. And we don't consciously know it, but our gut does. So while people loved what I had to say, they didn't trust me and they didn't know why. And they couldn't even articulate that it was a lack of trust. They just didn't hire me as often as I would like to have been hired.
Right. Isn't that something? Wow.
Once I did the journey, and it was a journey to the TEDx stage, once that was done, and I realized that no more secrets, this concept of no more secrets, it started when I agreed to take a TEDx stage because I didn't go looking for that. I was actually recruited on
Right.
this specific topic. Who knew?
Right. Right. How did you help your how because you said it was multiple times. So when your daughter first attempted, I'm assuming you knew all was going on, or did you not know and found out later, or
It was, that's why it's in the talk.
okay.
And I'm going to share this story backwards. When I wrote my first script for my TEDx talk, my fellow TEDx speakers for that event loved it. My TEDx coach at the time, not so much. He called
Mm,
me out on it privately that it was tactical and not vulnerable. So he
okay.
had me rewrite it. And then my stage got closed for COVID. So instead of being on stage May of 2020, I had the whole year of 2020. Towards the end of the year, we had a date, January 2021. We were going, and I pulled my script out from the drawer, got a new TEDx coach. And the more I worked with the script, the more I hated it.
Right.
Because by then we'd launched the Teen Suicide Prevention Society and we had been teaching and working with tons of people. I can't tell you what the numbers were
Of course.
at the end of last year, but what happened was I reached out to a friend who happened to be a former TEDx organizer. His name is Roger Killen, amazing man. I said, Roger, would you read my script and give me feedback? Sure. And he called me up and said, well, the content's really good, Jackie, and it's not going to inspire anyone.
Ooh.
And I went, okay,
You're
it
like, "Back
doesn't
to the
inspire
drawing board."
me. So yeah, that's why we have people who are
Mhm.
honest with us. What happened next was a double miracle. He agreed to help me. And to her credit, the TEDx organizer, Sarah gave me permission to rip my script down to nothing and rebuild it less than 3 weeks before stage. This
Wow.
is not something most TEDx organizers will do.
Right, right.
Their rules. What happened next was that Roger said I was going to have to tell the story of my daughter's attempt. And I'm like, Roger, I did. It says so right here. We were a normal middle class American family, and then my daughter tried to kill herself. He says, that's not a story. I said, but then I talk about how she broke the silence 23 years later. And he says, that's after the story. You're going to have to tell the story of the
Oh,
day
man.
daughter tried. And I'm like, Roger, I don't have a memory of that day. It was just a day. There was nothing unusual about it until there was nothing usual about it. And he suggested I talk with Stephanie. And I went, mm-hmm. And I picked up the phone. I called my daughter and I'm like, Stephanie, I'm doing the TEDx talk. They want me to talk about the day that you first attempted. And honey, I don't remember. And Stephanie started laughing. And
Oh,
she,
okay.
and she said, Mom, it was the shopping. And then I remembered. And then I realized why it's so important for me to tell that story. People think it's the big things, but
Mm.
it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's this little tiny decision that links into a belief that was formed at a time she can't even remember, that just was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was just the one thing that made everything tumble together. Like
Wow.
in chemistry, a supersaturated solution will crystallize instantly.
Right.
The same is true with suicide. For many people, especially teens, there's not a moment of decision, there's a moment of opportunity that crosses a subconscious
Wow.
plan.
Wow.
And our subconscious brains are elegantly designed to bring about what we think about,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is why the negative echo chamber is so deadly and devastating. This is the law of attraction and action in a way that people don't usually talk about it. You have a thought like, I can't take this. I'm not willing to do this again. I can't deal with this. I'm out of here. The world would be better off without me. There's a whole liturgy that runs
Right.
through your brain. And when that gets stopped and you go, oh crap, am I in trouble? I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to worry my family. I don't want my boss to find out. I don't want to have to go see somebody. I'm not going to think about it. You ever tried not to think about something, Nina?
Yeah. I use that as an example all the time. You cannot tell your brain not to think about something.
It's like doubling down on the thought.
Yeah.
You're actually thinking about not thinking about it, which means you're thinking about it more.
That's
And
so
your
true.
subconscious mind makes a plan and starts looking for opportunities to bring about what you think about because that's what it's
Mm.
supposed to do.
Mm.
In a teen, no prefrontal cortex, no perception, subconscious plan crosses opportunity, and they're gone.
Yep. 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 I mean, I remember a few years ago, we went to a friend of ours, church. They were from our church, and their daughter committed suicide, and they never expected it. Nobody expected. She was a beautiful, very well liked young
Yeah.
lady, and here we are looking at a casket of a 17-year-old, and it just blows your mind. You
It's
know?
not the bullying, it's the
Right.
lack of emotional resilience to handle bullies.
Yep. Yep.
So
That's
on the
true.
upstream, it's not the bullying, people. It's the lack of emotional resilience to handle bullies. There are bullies everywhere.
Yep.
They exist. They are people who get their emotional needs met by pushing somebody's buttons. What if you could unhook the flipping buttons?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we've got tools for kids as young as 3 years old. Why? Because we realized if we want to prevent suicide in 13-year-olds 10 years from now, we can teach emotional resilience and emotional intelligence to 3-year-olds today. So some of
That's
our
so
partners
good.
work with 3 and up, some of our partners work with 8 and up, and we work with teens and adults to help you suicide proof your friends. That's our job.
Right. So where do you think we went wrong with the resiliency? Where did we go wrong with that?
We stopped having multi generational meals.
I agree with that.
Back in the day, you got to watch people disagree without it destroying a relationship. When you had a multi generational family meal, we learned that relationships were resilient.
Right, right.
And then we went into mobile. And so my parents left their home. A man shall leave his mother and a woman leave her home, right? They got married, they moved out of the country. He was military. So we
Mm.
started having these geographically diverse families without understanding what we were losing. It was worked okay as long as you still had the community, the culture, usually through religion. That started going away as well.
Right. That's true.
And
Yeah.
so, without this community, without the family, now without a community, once my parents split up and my mother was no longer part of the military community, she no longer lived near her family, there was not a community for
Yep.
us to learn in.
Yep.
So, where did we go wrong? We didn't go wrong. We just failed to adapt to the new reality. So we're here teaching the adaptation skills that are missing from two generations.
Right.
That's why
Right.
we work with teens and adults, is because these are the generations that missed out on the life lessons that used to be gotten from a multi-generational meal.
Yeah, that's true. And that's so rare. I don't even hear anybody doing that anymore. It's very rare.
And now with COVID, we're discouraged from having multi-generational meals and large gatherings and
Wow.
reunions.
Yeah.
And those there are very good reasons for that. And the reality is that makes it even more important that people learn these skills.
Right. Right.
And that's what we're out to do. We want our vision. We imagine a world where teen suicide is a thing of the past. Our methodology for getting there is to have people having this talk in every company, in every boardroom, in
Right.
every
Right.
school, and in every classroom,
Right.
in
Right.
every neighborhood, and in every home.
So how do we get the info that we need, like your pamphlet and your, your classes and things like that? How do we tell my audience, to get this skill set?
Talksthatsavelives.com.
Okay.
Just those four words, talks plural, that save lives plural.com. And there they can apply. In the month of September, you apply to learn the first talk, and we will give you the entire program for free.
That's awesome. That really is great. Did Stephanie have anything to add to your journey with this when it comes to the program?
Stephanie is the reason there is a program.
Mhm.
On August the 3rd, 2019, Stephanie broke over 23 years of silence in a very public way. She went from not talking about her suicide attempts outside of getting professional help to delivering a 7-minute message that matters at an event that I hosted. The
Wow.
story of that is in the TEDx talk because it was the day that I call the day my purpose tapped me on my shoulder.
Right. Wow.
So we co founded the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. Stephanie and I would now work together. Who knew that was possible?
Right.
Along with her sisters, Katie and Jamie, we formed this society and started teaching how to have the talk.
That's great. That's so great, right? It's what a beautiful thing to see your daughter, your very own daughter, that had multiple attempts and could have left this earth before her time, right? And you're watching her now impact somebody else's life in that way. That is a very powerful thing.
It
That's
is.
amazing. That's amazing. Jackie, you're doing amazing work. I really am glad that you took the time to be on here with me because this was a very important conversation. I will make sure that that link is linked to all of the media. And I'll be putting this. It's already on right now. It's being streamed onto the YouTube, the Twitter, and the Facebook page. So I will make sure to link all of that in and make sure that they have a way of reaching you and getting the talk because I just know of too many families that have been touched by this. I just know too many, too many. It has to end. It has to end. So I'm really, bravo to you and to your daughters for this work. Really. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm really, really happy that you're here. I being someone who wasn't successful, thank you God for not letting me be successful in my suicide attempt. I'm grateful to hear these words now because I know that had anybody even bothered to talk to me, I wouldn't have even tried. So for all of you out there who are listening, the reason we did this live today, I know it's an off day for me to do a live, but I know that you guys are super supportive, so I want you to make sure that you comment and share this video and share it on all of your social media platforms so that we can get this information out because it's about saving lives. It's about saving lives and having a conversation that most of us don't do because we don't think about it or maybe we don't know how to start it. But it's time to start the conversation and it's time to really reach out to those, whether you think they are or not. Like Jackie said before, even if you say to people, it's just for practice. I don't care what you say, but it's time to have this conversation and do it well. So, Jackie, is there any final words before we let them all go?
break the silence, have the talk.
Yes. Oh man, amen to that. Jackie, thank you so much. And guys, don't forget to share and thank you for watching. This is Nina Perez. This is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.